10. Hollywood stars you didn't know were black. Until now. For decades, Hollywood has sold us a dream, glamorous stars, perfect smiles, and flawless stories. But behind the curtain lies a shocking secret. Some of its biggest icons were forced to hide their true black heritage just to survive. From movie legends to pop divas, these stars lived double lives in an industry built on illusion. What truths were buried to protect their fame? And what happened when the mask finally cracked? Brace yourself. The truth will change how you see Hollywood forever. Before we begin, hit subscribe to Legends of Black Excellence for more stories they never wanted you to hear. Dwayne Johnson. Before he was the highest-paid actor in Hollywood, Dwayne Douglas Johnson was just a kid from Hayward, California, carrying the weight of two powerful heritages, one Samoan, one black. Born on May 2, 1972, he grew up watching his father, Rocky Johnson, fight to break racial barriers in the wrestling world. Rocky, a proud black Nova Scotian, became one of the first African-American champions in WWF history during the 1970s, performing in arenas like Madison Square Garden, and battling not just opponents, but also racial hostility. His mother, Ata Maivia, was the daughter of legendary Samoan wrestler Peter Maivia, tying Dwayne to one of the most respected dynasties in the sport. Yet despite such lineage, young Dwayne faced alienation. Growing up in a predominantly white neighborhood, he was mocked for his skin color and name. In his own words, "I didn't fit in anywhere. Not white enough, not black enough, not Samoan enough." His family struggled financially. At one point, they were evicted from their apartment in Hawaii. By age 17, he had been arrested multiple times for petty theft. Still, those experiences forged his resilience. The Rock persona wasn't born in the ring, it was built in adversity. When he first entered professional wrestling in 1996 under the name Rocky Maivia, fans booed him mercilessly. They saw him as manufactured, neither fully black nor fully Samoan, an outsider in both cultures. Critics on forums and sports shows mocked him, predicting he'd fade within a year. But instead of surrendering, Dwayne reinvented himself. He transformed into The Rock, a loudmouthed, self-aware anti-hero who mocked his own image and turned ridicule into dominance. By the early 2000s, The Rock was one of the most electrifying entertainers in wrestling history, winning 10 world championships and becoming the face of the WWF's golden era. Hollywood, however, wasn't much kinder at first. In 2001, when Universal Pictures cast him in The Scorpion King, rumors spread that his skin tone had been digitally lightened in posters to appeal to European markets. Even respected critics like Kenneth Turan questioned whether a non-white face could lead a global blockbuster. Dwayne refused to let the narrative define him. In an ESPN interview that year, he stated firmly, "My father is Rocky Johnson, a black man who bled to open doors for others. I'll never deny who I am." That quote rippled through Hollywood's silencing doubters. The film's opening weekend shattered records, earning $36 million, making Johnson the highest-paid actor for a debut role in history. From there, he built an empire starring in the Fast and Furious saga Jumanji and even launching Young Rock, a sitcom chronicling his life. He's now worth over $800 million, not because he conformed, but because he turned authenticity into his brand. Halfway through his rise, Dwayne began using his platform to celebrate both his Samoan and black heritage. He tattooed Polynesian symbols of honor and family across his chest and often invoked his father's name in interviews. His message became clear: identity isn't a burden, it's your superpower. Dwayne Johnson proved that strength isn't measured by muscles or fame, it's the ability to stand tall when the world tells you to shrink. His journey from a broke teenager to a cultural icon isn't just a success story. It's a testament to the power of claiming your roots in an industry that once demanded you hide them. Mariah Carey. Long before she became known as the Songbird Supreme, Mariah Carey was a girl caught between two worlds, neither fully accepted as white nor embraced as black. Born on March 27, 1969, in Huntington, New York, Mariah was the daughter of Alfred Roy Carey, an aeronautical engineer of African-Venezuelan descent, and Patricia Hickey, a white opera singer from Ireland. Her parents' interracial marriage made them outcasts in their suburban neighborhood during the 1970s. As a child, Mariah recalled rocks being thrown through their windows and classmates whispering cruel questions like, "What are you anyway?" Those early experiences of rejection etched deep scars. While other kids played carefree, Mariah learned the pain of not belonging. She once described her upbringing as a constant battle to fit into a world that didn't know what to do with me. Music became her refuge. At just 3 years old, she began singing alongside her mother's piano rehearsals. By high school, she was writing her own songs and dreaming of a life where her voice, not her appearance, defined her. Her big break came in 1990, when Columbia Records signed her after label head Tommy Mottola heard her demo tape. Her debut single, Vision of Love, shot to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, announcing a once-in-a-generation talent. But behind the scenes, her image was being reshaped. Columbia executives led by Mottola, who later became her husband, deliberately softened her racial identity, brightening her skin in photos, straightening her curls, and pushing her as a universal pop princess rather than a mixed-race woman. In the early 90s, it was no secret that white singers dominated mainstream radio. A marketing memo leaked years later revealed Columbia's concern that black features might limit her global appeal. Magazines often edited her photos to make her look lighter, and she was reportedly discouraged from attending events celebrating black artists. For years, Mariah remained silent, trapped in an image carefully crafted for profit. But the numbers spoke louder than prejudice. Between 1990 and 2000, Mariah achieved 19 Billboard Hot 100 #1 hits, second only to the Beatles. Her albums, Music Box 1993 and Daydream 1995, sold over 20 million copies each, shattering the industry's racial barriers. She was no longer just Columbia's golden girl, she was an unstoppable global force. Her turning point came in the early 2000s when Mariah began to reclaim her heritage. In an emotional interview with Oprah Winfrey, she declared, "My father is a black man. That's who I am. I'm proud of that part of me." The statement stunned many, including fans, who had never known her true background. It also exposed the industry's long history of whitewashing artists to fit commercial molds. Mariah did, and it changed everything. From hiding her identity to celebrating it on stage, she became a symbol of resilience for millions of biracial artists who came after her. Today, with over 200 million records sold, 5 Grammy Awards, and an enduring cultural legacy, Mariah Carey isn't just the voice of a generation, she's the proof that authenticity can outshine even the brightest illusions of fame. Diana Ross. In the heart of Detroit's Brewster Douglas housing projects, a young girl named Diana Ernestine Earl Ross dreamed of glamour. Born on March 26, 1944, she came of age during a time when segregation still gripped America, and the idea of a black woman leading the pop charts seemed unthinkable. Yet Diana's voice, soft, elegant, and radiant, cut through those barriers. By her late teens, she joined the Primettes, the group that would become the Supremes, under the visionary guidance of Motown founder Berry Gordy. By the mid-1960s, the Supremes were unstoppable, scoring 12 Billboard #1 hits, including Baby Love and Stop in the Name of Love. They even surpassed the Beatles in consecutive chart toppers. But behind the glitter, a darker reality lingered. Gordy meticulously crafted Diana as Motown's crossover star, training her in diction, poise, and style to appeal to white audiences. Her lighter complexion and sophisticated image made her the safe face of black music. White critics praised her as universal, while others whispered that she was too polished to be truly soulful. Within the black community, her fame carried a double edge. Ebony magazine once described Ross as a woman standing between two worlds, belonging fully to neither. As her popularity soared, tension grew within the Supremes. Mary Wilson, her longtime bandmate, publicly accused Motown of transforming the group into Diana Ross and the Supremes, erasing the others' contributions. When Ross eventually left the group in 1970 to pursue a solo career, many saw it as an act of ambition, and others as the inevitable result of her unique stardom. Hollywood soon beckoned. In 1972, Ross astonished audiences with her portrayal of jazz legend Billie Holiday in Lady Sings the Blues. Despite early doubts that she was too glamorous for the part, her performance earned an Academy Award nomination and a Golden Globe win, proving that a black woman could dominate both music and film. Yet prejudice continued to shadow her. Some directors admitted she wasn't black enough for certain roles, a cruel contradiction for an artist who had spent her entire life breaking racial barriers. In a vulnerable interview with Barbara Walters in 1977, Ross confessed, "I'm tired of being told I'm not black enough to sing black music and not white enough to be a Hollywood star." That single statement captured the pain of generations of light-skinned or mixed-race performers torn between two conflicting worlds. Despite every challenge, Diana Ross never lost her grace or determination. Her solo albums like Touch Me in the Morning and Mahogany produced multiple chart-topping hits, securing her place as one of the most influential female performers in music history. She inspired icons such as Beyoncé, Janet Jackson, and Rihanna to embrace elegance, power, and identity without compromise. Across more than 6 decades, Diana Ross transcended color lines, gender expectations, and cultural limitations. She was not merely a singer or an actress, she was a visionary who proved that talent could outshine prejudice. Her story stands as a testament to the resilience of those who dared to redefine beauty, fame, and black excellence in a world that often refused to see them fully. Clark Gable. In the glittering 1930s, when the silver screen became America's escape from hardship, Clark Gable emerged as the ultimate symbol of masculine perfection. Suave, confident, and irresistibly charming. Born on February 1, 1901 in Cadiz, Ohio, Gable's rise from poverty to stardom was a Hollywood fairy tale in itself. Yet behind the carefully curated image of the all-American man lay whispers that threatened to destroy his career. Rumors circulated that Gable's family carried African American and Native American ancestry, a scandalous suggestion during an era ruled by Jim Crow segregation laws. In a time when racial purity determined opportunity, MGM, the studio that owned Gable's image, reportedly acted fast to suppress the speculation. Local birth records from Cadiz mysteriously vanished, and the studio's publicity machine crafted a new origin story, one of rugged white heroism, not mixed heritage. Gossip columnist Hedda Hopper once hinted in the Los Angeles Times, "There's something not entirely American about him," a coded phrase that sent Hollywood into quiet panic. MGM executives, terrified that one of their million-dollar stars could be seen as tainted, began controlling not just his roles, but even his private interactions. Despite the secrecy, glimpses of Gable's defiance appeared. On the set of Gone with the Wind, 1939, he formed a close friendship with Hattie McDaniel, the black actress, who would go on to win the first Oscar ever awarded to an African-American performer. When Gable discovered that segregated restrooms had been built for the cast, he reportedly smashed the colored-only sign and told producers, "If Hattie can't use this restroom, I won't film another scene." His act of protest shocked the crew, but earned him lifelong respect from McDaniel, who later told NBC Radio, "He treated me as his equal, not as his maid." The prejudice, however, persisted. At the Atlanta premiere of Gone with the Wind, McDaniel was banned from attending due to segregation laws. Gable was furious and initially refused to go until McDaniel herself persuaded him, saying, "You have to be there for all of us." The incident exposed Hollywood's hypocrisy, a film glorified as an American masterpiece built on a foundation of racial exclusion. Gable did, and it revealed a different kind of courage, not of action scenes or box office triumphs, but of quiet defiance in an industry that demanded silence. Despite being labeled the king of Hollywood, he lived under constant scrutiny. Some casting directors allegedly rejected him for not being white enough, while tabloids referred to him cruelly as a man wearing white skin. Away from the cameras, tragedy deepened his mystique. After his beloved wife, actress Carole Lombard, died in a 1942 plane crash, Gable enlisted in the U.S. Army Air Forces at the age of 40. He flew 5 bombing missions over Germany, narrowly surviving when his plane was hit by enemy fire. Even President Franklin D. Roosevelt called him the star who carried courage into battle. Clark Gable's life was a paradox, America's most celebrated actor, yet a man whose very identity had to be edited to fit a nation's prejudice. His rumored ancestry, never confirmed nor denied, became part of his legend. What remains undeniable is his humanity, a man who, even in a segregated world, dared to stand for dignity. Gable's legacy is more than charm or chiseled looks. It's a reminder that even Hollywood's brightest kings were sometimes forced to wear invisible masks. Dorothy Dandridge. In the 1950s, when America still clung to whites-only signs, Dorothy Dandridge rose as a symbol of elegance, talent, and defiance. Born on November 9, 1922 in Cleveland, Ohio, Dorothy began performing in nightclubs alongside her sister Vivian as part of the Wonder Children. Their act brought them to Los Angeles, where they performed at the famed Cotton Club, a venue where black entertainers dazzled white audiences but weren't allowed to sit in the crowd. Even then, Dorothy's poise and light complexion drew attention. Critics called her the Black Hedy Lamarr, but that label came with both privilege and pain. Her big break came in 1954 when she starred as the sensual, fiery lead in Carmen Jones, directed by Otto Preminger. The role made her the first black woman ever nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actress, an achievement that shattered barriers but came with a steep price. Hollywood adored her beauty, but feared her skin. Directors ordered her makeup to be lightened. Studios rejected her for leading roles, calling her too dark for white audiences. One notorious audition for The King and I ended with a producer coldly saying, "She's too Negro." At the height of her fame, tabloids obsessed over her love life instead of her legacy. Her secret affair with Otto Preminger, a white, powerful director, scandalized Hollywood and effectively destroyed her career. Studios distanced themselves, labeling her difficult and uncontrollable. Dorothy herself once lamented, "If I were white, I'd have a dozen scripts waiting on my doorstep." Behind the glamour was a woman who refused to shrink into stereotypes. In a 1955 interview with Ebony, she said, "I'm not just a pretty face. I want to pave the way for others." Her dream, however, collided with the brutal realities of racism. Contracts dried up and roles disappeared. Struggling with debt and heartbreak, she performed in small clubs to survive. On September 8, 1965, Dorothy Dandridge was found dead in her Los Angeles apartment. The coroner listed an overdose as the cause. She was only 42 years old. Her death was mourned as both a loss and a warning that Hollywood could crown you in gold one night and abandon you the next. Yet her spirit endured. When Halle Berry won the 2002 Academy Award for Best Actress, she tearfully said, "This is for Dorothy Dandridge." Dorothy's brief but brilliant life became the blueprint for every black actress who dared to demand more than what Hollywood allowed. Lena Horne. Long before the civil rights movement found its anthem, Lena Horne was already singing it. Born on June 30, 1917 in Brooklyn, New York, Lena began performing at 16 in Harlem's Cotton Club, where she captivated audiences with her glowing beauty and silky contralto voice. By 1942, she made history as the first black woman to sign a long-term contract with MGM Studios, a monumental achievement at a time when Hollywood relegated black performers to roles as maids, nannies, or comic relief. But fame came with chains. MGM executives adored her sophistication, but feared her race. Her skin was considered safe enough to appeal to white audiences, but too light to satisfy segregated Southern theaters. Her contract included a humiliating clause: her scenes could be cut when films played in the South. In Cabin in the Sky. 1943. Her performance of Ain't It the Truth was deleted from the Southern release, with theater owners claiming white audiences don't need to see a black woman looking like a star. Lena fought back not with anger, but with elegance and defiance. During World War II, she volunteered to perform for American troops, but walked off stage when she saw black soldiers forced to sit behind a rope barrier. "I'm not singing to a segregated audience," she declared, an act that got her blacklisted from many military tours. Yet she refused to bow. Her activism deepened as she grew older. She became a powerful voice for the NAACP and appeared at the 1963 March on Washington, standing alongside Martin Luther King Jr., and declaring, "They tried to cut me out, underpay me, and push me back, but I am still here." Her resilience transformed her into more than a singer. She became a living protest. Musically, she triumphed with timeless hits like Stormy Weather and The Lady is a Tramp, earning 4 Grammy Awards, including a Lifetime Achievement Award in 1989. Though Hollywood never gave her the leading roles she deserved, she carved out a new legacy on her own terms. Lena Horne passed away in 2010 at the age of 92, leaving behind a legacy of art, courage, and dignity. She didn't just open doors, she dismantled them. In her voice was the sound of a woman who refused to fade quietly into history, ensuring that no black performer would ever again have to apologize for shining too brightly. Carol Channing. For nearly 50 years, the world knew Carol Elaine Channing as the epitome of the all-American Broadway darling, platinum blonde hair, sparkling eyes, and a smile as bright as the footlights. Born on January 31, 1921 in Seattle, Washington, she became a theatrical icon through her unforgettable performances in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes and Hello, Dolly. With her distinctive, raspy voice and comedic timing, she dominated Broadway, earning 3 Tony Awards, an Oscar nomination, and a Golden Globe. Yet behind the glamour and applause, Carol carried a secret that Hollywood and Broadway would have considered career-ending in her era. She was part black. Her father, George Channing, was of African-American descent, though the family carefully concealed it. During the 1930s and 1940s, the entertainment industry enforced an unspoken rule: white sells tickets. Any trace of black ancestry could mean exile from stardom. Carol's father, a journalist and minister, knew this well and warned his daughter never to speak of their heritage publicly. Producers and casting directors repeatedly told her to maintain her white image. One reportedly said, "If anyone ever finds out, your career is over." As Carol's fame grew, so did the fear. Backstage whispers circulated about her background, but no one dared ask outright. She was Hollywood's perfect illusion, a white woman who could light up a room with laughter. In private, however, the pressure was crushing. Colleagues recalled moments when she broke down in dressing rooms, confessing her terror of exposure. It wasn't until decades later, at the age of 80, that Carol finally decided she had lived long enough to stop hiding. In 2002, during an interview with CNN, and later on Larry King Live, Carol revealed that her father was of African descent, explaining, "My father was a black man. I've spent my life afraid that people would find out, but the truth should never be a burden." The revelation shocked America. The New York Times ran the headline, "Carol Channing's half-century secret finally revealed." Many fans were stunned, others confused, but countless people, especially in the black community, embraced her honesty with admiration. Rather than damage her legacy, the truth enhanced it. She became a symbol of courage, a reminder of how deeply racism once shaped show business. In interviews that followed, she spoke about the exhaustion of performing whiteness and expressed regret that fear had stolen decades of authenticity from her. Yet she also acknowledged that had she revealed it sooner, her career might never have existed. Carol continued performing well into her late 80s, returning to Broadway stages with the same infectious energy that made her a legend. She passed away on January 15, 2019, at the age of 97, celebrated as one of America's most beloved performers, and finally as a woman who reclaimed her full identity. Carol Channing's story stands as a haunting reminder of the price artists once paid to fit Hollywood's mold. Beneath the sequins and spotlight, was a woman who spent a lifetime wearing a mask only to remove it in her twilight years. Her courage to speak her truth proved that no secret, no matter how long buried, can dim the brilliance of authenticity. Wentworth Miller. When Prison Break first aired in 2005, audiences were captivated by the piercing blue eyes and quiet intensity of Michael Scofield, the brilliant engineer willing to risk everything for his brother. Behind that haunting gaze was Wentworth Earl Miller III, a man fighting an invisible battle not in a prison of walls, but of identity. Born on June 2, 1972 in Chipping Norton, England, and raised in Brooklyn, New York, Miller grew up between two vastly different worlds. His father, Wentworth Earl Miller II, was a black man of Jamaican and African-American heritage, while his mother, Joy Marie Palm, was white and of English, German, and Russian descent. From a young age, he felt the sting of being too light to be black, too dark to be white. At school, he was often asked, "What are you?" a question that carried both curiosity and cruelty. He later described it as living life with a question mark attached to your face. Although academically gifted, earning a degree in English literature from Princeton University, he struggled with a sense of belonging. Hollywood, he soon discovered, was no kinder. Casting agents frequently rejected him, saying he didn't fit the type. He wasn't black enough for black roles and not white enough for mainstream leads. His breakout role in Prison Break came after years of small parts and quiet frustration. As Scofield, he became a global phenomenon, with the series reaching over 185 countries and earning Golden Globe nominations. Yet even as fame embraced him, Hollywood tried to rewrite his identity. European magazines lightened his complexion in cover shoots, and American tabloids referred to him as the mysterious Englishman, completely erasing his black heritage. Miller stayed silent at first. He later admitted that he feared revealing his full identity would make him less marketable in an industry still chained by race. By 2007, the media began speculating about his background, accusing him of hiding his roots. That year, Miller finally addressed it, telling The Guardian, "My father is of African descent. I've never denied that, but Hollywood isn't comfortable talking about it." His honesty shifted the conversation. Fans who once admired his looks began to admire his courage. However, the personal toll was immense. Years later, he revealed that constant identity conflict and industry pressure had driven him into deep depression. In a 2013 Facebook post, he admitted he had contemplated suicide, writing, "I was trying to kill myself because I didn't think I belonged anywhere." His public vulnerability transformed him from an actor into an advocate. Miller became a spokesperson for mental health awareness and LGBTQ+ rights after coming out as gay that same year. His openness inspired countless fans who saw in him not just a celebrity, but a survivor. Though his career shifted from leading man to writer and activist, contributing scripts to The Flash and Legends of Tomorrow, his impact deepened far beyond television. Wentworth Miller's story is not about scandal or fame, but survival. He proved that authenticity, though costly, is liberating. By refusing to live divided, he broke free from Hollywood's narrow vision of race and masculinity, his own real-life prison break. Hattie McDaniel. In 1940, inside the Grand Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles, history was made, and humiliation unfolded in the same moment. Hattie McDaniel, born on June 10, 1893 in Wichita, Kansas, became the first African-American ever to win an Academy Award for her role as Mammy in Gone with the Wind, 1939. Dressed in an elegant turquoise gown, she delivered her acceptance speech through tears, saying, "I sincerely hope I shall always be a credit to my race." The audience applauded, yet as the lights dimmed, she returned not to the main hall, but to a small table near the kitchen, separated from her white co-stars by the hotel's segregation policy. The same night she made history, she was not allowed to sit among her peers. The cruelty of that moment defined both her triumph and tragedy. The daughter of former slaves, Hattie grew up in Denver, where her father, Henry McDaniel, had fought in the Civil War. She began her career in traveling minstrel shows, writing and performing comic songs. In the 1920s and 30s, she broke into radio, becoming the first black woman to sing on American radio. But even as her fame grew, Hollywood's unwritten rules kept her confined to one kind of role, the loyal servant. Out of the 300 films she appeared in, over 80% cast her as maids, cooks, or nannies. Studio executives and white audiences adored her warmth and humor, while critics labeled her the perfect maid. Her Oscar-winning performance in Gone with the Wind brought her fame, but also fierce backlash. Many white journalists patronized her success, calling her proof of Hollywood's progress, while segments of the black press accused her of perpetuating stereotypes. The Chicago Defender published an editorial titled "An Oscar for Hattie McDaniel Pride or Humiliation," accusing Hollywood of celebrating her servitude rather than her artistry. McDaniel defended herself fiercely. "I'd rather play a maid than be one. Why should I deny the work that puts food on my table and opens doors for others?" Despite the criticism, Hattie continued to work not just as an actress but as a quiet activist. She donated heavily to the NAACP and the USO, performing for black troops who were often excluded from white-only entertainment tours during World War II. When Hollywood refused to cast her in more serious roles, she shifted her focus to radio, starring in The Beulah Show in 1947, becoming the first black woman to headline a national radio sitcom. Even then, she faced censorship. The NAACP pressured networks to tone down servant dialects, while white sponsors hesitated to feature a black woman as a lead. Her later years were marked by health struggles and financial loss. In 1952, Hattie McDaniel passed away at age 59 from breast cancer, leaving behind a complicated but unshakable legacy. Her final wish was to be buried in Hollywood Cemetery, but the cemetery refused her because of segregation. Decades later, in 1999, a memorial was finally erected there to honor her life and contributions. Hattie McDaniel's story is both a triumph and an indictment, a reminder of how a nation could applaud a black woman's excellence while still forcing her to the margins. Yet her courage and grace carved a path for every black actor who followed. She didn't just win an Oscar, she won the right to be seen even if the world wasn't ready to look. Fredi Washington. In the racially divided Hollywood of the 1930s, Fredi Washington stood as a quiet storm, elegant, intelligent, and unapologetically proud of who she was. Born Frederica Carolyn Washington on December 23, 1903 in Savannah, Georgia, she grew up in a time when a black woman with light skin was both weaponized and marginalized. Her delicate features and fair complexion meant she could have easily passed as white, a choice that could have guaranteed fame, wealth, and acceptance in an industry obsessed with whiteness. But Fredi chose a different path: truth. Raised in Harlem during the Harlem Renaissance, Washington became part of an extraordinary artistic generation alongside Duke Ellington, Josephine Baker, and Paul Robeson. She started as a dancer and chorus girl at the Cotton Club, where white patrons applauded black performers from afar, but refused them entry as guests. Her poise and intelligence soon attracted filmmakers searching for exotic faces, but Fredi was no one's fantasy. Her defining moment came in 1934 when she starred in Imitation of Life, playing Peola, a light-skinned black woman who denies her heritage to live as white. The film became a sensation, earning an Academy Award nomination for Best Picture, but it also mirrored Fredi's own life in painful irony. Hollywood executives urged her to follow her character's path off-screen. One studio head reportedly told her, "If you pass for white, I'll make you a star in 3 years." But Washington refused. In interviews, she made her stance clear: "I am a Negro, and I'm proud of it. I don't need to pretend to be someone else just to be accepted." Her boldness was revolutionary at a time when mixed-race actors like Merle Oberon hid their ancestry. Fredi's honesty was seen as a threat. Her refusal came with a heavy cost. After Imitation of Life, she found herself blacklisted from major studios. Casting directors avoided her, unsure whether to place her in black or white roles. The same face that Hollywood once praised as universal beauty now became too controversial. Her career, which could have flourished, was deliberately stunted by racial politics. Yet instead of fading into silence, Washington transformed her pain into purpose. She became an outspoken activist for equality in the arts, helping to found the Negro Actors Guild of America in 1937, an organization created to protect and uplift black performers against industry exploitation. She also worked as a writer and journalist, contributing essays to publications like The People's Voice, where she called out Hollywood's hypocrisy and urged the representation of black people not as caricatures, but as humans. Washington later appeared in the Broadway revival of Mamba's Daughters, 1939, proving that her artistry could survive even without Hollywood's validation. Although she never returned to major film roles, her legacy as a pioneer only deepened with time. She continued to advocate for black artists well into the 1950s, mentoring younger performers who would later succeed in the spaces she had been denied. Freddie Washington passed away in 1994 at the age of 90, largely forgotten by mainstream media, but revered by historians and actors who recognized her courage. In an era when survival meant silence, she chose integrity over illusion. She never became Hollywood's darling, but she became something greater, the conscience of a system built on denial. Hollywood's golden age may have sparkled, but beneath its shine lay the untold pain of stars forced to hide who they truly were. From Dwayne Johnson's proud defiance to Freddie Washington's refusal to pass for white, these legends proved that identity is not a flaw to erase, but a power to embrace. Their struggles echo through time, reminding us that fame built on silence is never freedom. Which of these stars' stories changed how you see Hollywood's history? Let's discuss below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Legends of Black Excellence for more hidden truths.